Do it. Just do it.
Make your dreams come true!
What up, guys? It's your boy Al Easy, back at it again with my first ever tier list, and today I'm hoping to tap in on that low effort gold mine of content from some of these other videos. You might have seen them and the success that they're enjoying, and I'm trying to get in on this wave before anyone else can snatch it all up. And if I seem a little bit more animated here, if I have a little more pep in my step, so to say, it's because I received some very helpful criticism on my last video that I seemed a little bit lifeless and robotic. I even made an ironic goof at one point comparing myself to Mark Zuckerberg, but I guess it's like they say, under every joke is a smidgen of truth. So I'm trying to do my best this time to at least emulate the mannerisms of a real live human being, make it a little bit more relatable for you guys, a little bit more watchable as the kids are saying. I'm also going to try my best to maintain a more appropriate amount of eye contact, more like 67% of the time, something like that, 67.3, whatever the recommended amount is, instead of the whole fucking video. Maybe I'll even add in some wacky sound effects and whatnots to increase the entertainment value. Now, as you can probably tell by my thumbnails, I'm not the most proficient man alive when it comes to using Photoshop, so I went ahead and used this website, tiermaker.com, shout out to tiermaker.com, to make the tier list for me. So the tiers themselves are pretty self-explanatory. You go from S, which stands for superpowers, and then you go right down to report card letters. You skipped E, of course, because who the fuck likes E? That's one of the forbidden symbols that we're never allowed to say or use. And then finally you have the DC tier, which is going to be reserved only for the characters that are so absolute trash that they need to have a DC movie made about them to express how much I dislike them. Oh, and keep in mind that I'm not exactly the biggest Marvel fan in the universe, so I'm mostly gonna only be able to identify about 30 to 40% of these characters at most. Now, without further ado, let's get ready to play! MCU important characters. What tier are they? Are they S tier? Let's find out. So first over here I got Robin from the classic Shakespeare play How I Met Your Mother. And I actually like Robin a lot, considering canonically she was made in Canada, which I consider to be a big step up in the underrepresentation of Canadian Americans in Hollywood. But spoiler alert, so skip this part if you're a pussy. It turns out that Robin was the mother the whole time, which I thought was very lazy writing on the part of Shakespeare. So I'm gonna have to put her right into F tier. Alright, and next we have a mix between what looks like Fantastic Four's Fire Guy and Gilgamesh from the Fate series. Now, on one hand, I am actually quite the Gilgamesh superfan. I thought he was fantastic. I enjoyed his golden aesthetic. But ironically, I did not think that the Fire Guy was fantastic at all. In fact, I found him to be the least fantastic of the Fantastic Four. I mean, for Christ's sake, I can't even remember his name. I think his name might be Flamon or Fireman, something of that nature. I mean, I can remember the Silver Surfer's name, that's no problem, but I can't remember one of the four protagonists of that series. So I'm gonna go ahead and place whatever this guy's name is right in C tier. A combination of what I think is S tier on the part of Gilgamesh and DC tier on the part of Fire Guy, so it's just going to even himself right out. And here's the first one I actually recognize, which is Ant-Man. And I know of this man because of the supposed homoerotic subplot that was supposed to take place between him and Thanos in the Avengers. But spoilers, and cover your ears again if you can't handle the truth. But it turns out that that never actually happens. So I'm gonna have to place him right next to his pal Sherbotsky here in F tier. Alright, so what do we got? I think this is Garfield's African pen pal. I think his name is Meowson Mandela. And I'm gonna have to give this guy the first official S rating for being the cat of the man who ended apartheid. Now, the girl from the Breakfast Club is an interesting one. I actually hadn't realized that the Marvel Cinematic Universe had expanded that far to include the Breakfast Club franchise, but c'est la vie. She would get a silver medal if this was the Breakfast Club Olympics, losing out only to John Bender, who I love for popularizing the trend of getting people drugs for Christmas. So I think I'm going to give the redhead from the Breakfast Club a B rating, the equivalent of a silver medal in this tier list. Now here we have Game of Thrones' Jon Snow after watching Season 8, Episode 3, and he's looking pretty down after seeing that episode, as we all were. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and give him a C out of pity. Don't you just want to kind of stroke his hair in a platonic fashion, of course? I do. And here we have a soldier from the Iraq War. Nothing much else to say about him. I don't really know who this is or what they were trying to go for with this character. A pretty uninteresting background character. So he's gonna get the first DC rating for being so completely boring. Mrs. Superman, somehow more overpowered than her husband. You get a D. A Sith Lord, ladies and gentlemen, truly the most ambitious crossover since Infinity War. Now, there's a lot that could be said about MTV's original IP, Sherlock, which I loved during season 1. But the more and more it went on, you just start to see the holes in the writing, and you kind of realize how overhyped it actually was. And then, of course, there's The Thing, who is actually the most fantastic out of the Fantastic Four. The Night King might go down as the single most overhyped character in the history of television, and for that, I have to award him the rank of DC. I think Marvel were really trying to make a statement by casting a black man as Cyclops in their new X-Men reboot, and this is of course coming off the back of the controversy surrounding Idris Elba playing James Bond. A tier. Now, on the opposite side of that, a lot of people didn't like that Marvel gave Fiona her own standalone movie, which really backfired considering how mediocre the Fiona movie actually was. So, I'll say it before and I'll say it again, I really hate when the writers are too lazy to actually make a proper villain for a hero. You know, someone who actually foils the core of that character's essence. Instead, they just make an anti-version of whatever that hero's main thing is. So here we have the anti-Spider-Man, who really is the definition of a DC movie. Now we have this guy, and this guy kind of looks like my endodontist, who really botched one of my root canals. So he gets put in F tier. I am in pain every day. Next up, I believe, we have the mascot for Lil Dicky's new music video, Earth, which has to be the most hollow, innocuous, and vapid song since Rebecca Black's Friday. And for that, I'm gonna have to put him in the DC tier. Love him or hate him, Legolas was one of the best archers in Middle-earth, and whenever I get to see his friendship with Gimli, it brings a little bit of joy to my cold, cold heart.
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a
superhero? I could do that.
And for that, he gets an S. For those of you who haven't played Dota 2, there's a hero called Legion Commander, and this guy kind of looks like he could be her uncle or something. I hate that hero. You can't go wrong with the classics, and Shrek 1 is pretty much the definition of a classic. Boys cried when Spider-Man got disintegrated, but men cried when the Iron Giant sacrificed himself to save the city. The Night King 2 Electric Boogaloo is a raw, honest film that explores the Night King's descent into heroin addiction following his defeat. A bit of a tearjerker, but still an A. Loki is my favorite Avenger. Now, I honestly couldn't tell you who this is. Luke Cage, maybe, or somebody else, perhaps? B tier, I guess, because I don't know who the fuck you are. If I could go back in time to when Ants first came out on VHS, I would. Now, this movie relies a lot on the nostalgia factor, which makes it feel a bit like a cash grab, but it's still an A tier for sure. Now here's one for the true Marvel fans. Many of you will know this is actually Craig the Hutt, Java's cousin, who only makes a really big appearance in the comics. He was a bit annoying, but he still, you know, give me the laughs a little bit sometimes. But he was annoying, so I'm gonna put him in C tier. There you go, Craig. And here's another obscure character only true fans have heard of. This is actually the mother of Cyborg from the hit classic Teen Titans Go to the Movies. I'll put her in A tier. We don't really know much about her. Perhaps in the future we'll have a Cyborg's mother standalone movie, just as good as Fiona's perhaps. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is a picture of Samuel L. Jackson right after filming Pulp Fiction, and the reason he has an eye patch is because he had the balls to look inside the magic briefcase, and whatever the fuck was in there actually disfigured him for life. And I'm gonna put him in S tier because he had the balls to do that. The Super Mario Bros. Live-action movie was the definition of a cult hit. And for that, I'm gonna put live action Bowser into A tier. Wakandan Tony Stark, ladies and gentlemen. Some would say an improvement to the original. Others would not. Uh-oh, cameo alert! No, it's not Stan Lee, you idiot. It's Marilyn Manson, straight out of his interview with Nardwuar.
Who are you? Who aren't I? Is a better question.
Man, this guy is the epitome of deep. Skeletor's live-action adaptation was truly a bigger success than that of Thanos. Villain of the year, everybody. Rocket Raccoon is what happens when furries infiltrate the writing staff of elite Hollywood studios. The Forgotten Olsen twin has the tragic backstory of being excluded from Eminem's magnum opus, Ass Like That, Feet Nate Dogg. And for that, I'm gonna have to put her into C tier, since that really was the greatest Eminem song of all time. Now, I want to say Whoopi Goldberg the early years, but I don't know who this is. C? Now, I like this guy, but his backstory is never really made clear. Something about he bit a cockroach and gave it superpowers or something like that. I don't know. Get your shit together, Marvel. You know, Darth Vader was a lot more attractive before Obi-Wan discovered the high ground. The human thumb. Truly the most important step in human evolution since the gluteus maximus, both of which allow us to pick up a PS4 controller and sit on a couch to play Little Big Planet. You know, once upon a time I was a fan of Rick and Morty, before an absolute trash tier fan base did it in like it did Fortnite and Elon Musk in The Office. Arya Stark really did grow up before our eyes. Feels like just yesterday she was running around Westeros getting kidnapped by the Hound and... My eyes! Thor is C tier. He's okay. Lily Singh, as far as YouTubers go, she really is a pretty average tier. I'll give her a B, I guess. The AI is coming for us. Don't you think for a second they aren't. Hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your jobs because they come in for that shit too. Fuck you. I feel like none of the categories encapsulate the spirit of Vape Nation Iron Man just quite right, so I'm gonna have to add this 420 tier just for him. And the Buddha. Did you agree with my tier list? Probably yes, since as I mentioned before, I am the Marvel superfan. So leave a like if you agreed, and leave a comment if you'd like to spit in my face. Like and subscribe!